All right. This is the morning thought. And I think I'm going to name this one The One True Thing. That was on the breakdown. And they were actually talking about, I think they were talking about, is there a difference between, or which one is worse, the toxic mother or the absent father? And I kind of got in there late. But we're bantering back and forth between, as always, it breaks down to the role of the man versus the role of the woman and who's responsible for the breakdown of the family and marriage and stuff like that. So we're talking about wives. And was it necessary? One, does it necessary for a man to train a wife? And I've always argued that it's not a man's job to train a wife. She should be that before he meets her. If you have to train a woman to do something, then you're already in trouble. Then you got her for reasons other than what you need her for. And the argument got round to, is there a baseline of behavior that men and women should come with, especially women? There's a baseline of acceptability for having a wife or being a wife or being a husband. And, that's when I jumped on. I said, it's not a baseline of, or an acceptable baseline of behavior, because the baseline of behavior means that there's standards, and we threw the standards out 50 years ago. So there is no standardized baseline of behavior. It's very arbitrary between the two parties, which is probably why we have this chaos that's going on now. Then it wandered into what I want to talk about, is the aspect of socialization, being social, being feminine, and how society or societies make those choices of what's being masculine, what's being feminine, what's acceptable behavior, all that kind of stuff. Societies make those choices, and our sub-society, our subgroup, has made choices of behavior between men and women, what men should act like, what women should act like. And we got to talking about mates and reputation. And we're saying that black men are probably chosen to be mates more by a wider group of women, especially in this modern environment, is because of our matriarchal training, whether we like it or not. And I'm going to say it. Our matriarchal training, we have been trained to serve. We might not always do it, but we have been trained to serve. Black men have been trained to be submissive. And I think I'll do another piece of that later. I might do it later. I might do it tomorrow as a morning thought. I think that's a good topic. But they have been trained to serve. And Tommy Curry said it in his book. It's been said by white feminists. It's been said in many, many, many books that black men are the most egalitarian, the most flexible, the most accepting of different roles, not necessarily gender roles, well, gender roles. I'm not saying as far as sexuality, but gender roles in the family, because of the way we've been trained by our mothers. And other groups of women find that very attractive, because even though they have been raised in rigid societies where there are rigid gender roles and men are more demanding and there's more rigid roles that they have to play in their particular groups, black men don't come with any of that, and they find that refreshing. Not all, but lots of them do. And black men have that reputation. The opposite is black women. Black women don't have the flexibility. Black women have the reputation of being more dominant, less forgiving, more dictatorial, because black women have, whether we like it or not, led the black community for the last 150 years. And since black women have been that way for 10, 12 generations, they are less likely to give up that position of power. Even Concrete Rose and Danielle said it yesterday. Black women are less likely to give up power. Most groups that are in group or in power hesitate to give it up, which is something that James Earl Jones said in a piece that I did years ago. He said in 1968, black women got mad when they heard it, and they said it wasn't true, even though it is. And I also said that black women love the reputation that they have. They say it's not true that the so-called negative reputation that they have, being more masculine, being more dominant, being more, shall we say, strict on their men, is that reputation. They do have that reputation, and that they do love and embellish it. That strong black women trope is one that they love and embellish, which comes off as, and I'm not saying this is compared to other groups, as a little bit more mean. Black women's mating strategy toward black men is, compared to other groups, antisocial. And black men have complained about it for years. Black women don't necessarily smile at their men, because to smile at your man means to encourage bad behavior, according to black women. Even when years ago, when I was dating in my 20s, this is some 35, 40 years ago, women used to tell me after we get together, right, that in social environments, they hated giving indications of interest. In other words, they hated smiling at a man to let him know that it was okay to come talk to him. They hated doing that. They hated the whole perfunctory thing. They thought men were just supposed to approach and take a shot, which is why men have game. It was something Kendra said about the hyena clan, that black men have to have game to approach such dangerous creatures, right? Without your head getting bitten off. So you had to have game. You had to be funny. You had to be entertaining. You had to get past your defenses. As Kay Michelle says, you have to climb that wall. Otherwise, you need to stay on the other side of it. So, after giving the preamble, what is the one true thing? The one true thing is that black women, and I've said it for a long time, I said it way before YouTube. I said it when I was young. Black women are trained to be mean to their men. And I know there's going to be gnashing of teeth, clutching of pearls, rending of clothes and ashes, okay? Women are going to faint and throw up their excuses that no, they're not. That's just them being them the way they have to be because their men are weak. And there might be something to that goes into the whole submission part that I'm not going to go into today. And all that flies and is acceptable when black men didn't have any choice, right? That's the way black women are. Those are our women. Okay, we have to put up with them the best that we can. We have to figure out a way around that wall. We have to accept that unsociable behavior, because literally black women have become downright unsociable. If you're not sexually attractive to them, they won't even look at you, much less speak to you. Black women will not say hi to you. They look at you funny and turn their head. And black men have moaned about it for years. Moaned about it for years is, how come our women don't speak to us? How come our women aren't friendly? And you look at any show, any movie going all the way back to the 40s, black women have always treated black men like that. And black men have thought it was normal, believed it was normal, because to mess with any other woman outside of your group was dangerous for both parties, the non-black woman and the black man. It was dangerous. But now, since assimilation and admixture has started to happen, where it has been deemed acceptable to admix, and black men have a wider choice of women, even just a wider choice of interacting with women, those two true things, black male, I'm going to use black male submission in this case, or this black male acquiescence in this case, that make them more appealing to other groups of women. And the fact that black women have been dominant in our subgroup and come off as mean to the men and mean to the group of the men, what's happening is black women are not being chosen because their mating strategy, their social strategy toward their men, and especially their young men, are deemed not acceptable or not as appealing. And that has taken its toll on over the years. And now it's come down to the Z's, and the Z's aren't having it. I keep hearing it over and over and over and over again. Why aren't you dating or pairing up with young women and girls that don't look like you, they look like your mother. And there's two things that come back is that one, that these women are choosing black men more heavily, and two, they're socially more agreeable. In other words, they're not mean. In fact, I can't tell you how many times that I've heard that the young boys are coming back and telling their mothers and their fathers and their uncles and all their elders is that black girls are mean and they don't want any part of it, which is something that I said some 40 years ago. I saw the way my mother interacted with my father. It wasn't a dainty, loving way. Okay. See, my mother's never been dainty or dainty toward my father. So I thought a woman treating you rough or saying snarky or smart ass things to you was normal. And that if she even smiled at you, that was, that was like, like all green lights. It wasn't just her being friendly. For a black woman to even smile at you, that means it's an indication of interest. Because other than that, she wouldn't smile at you. And sometimes her even being mean to you was an indication of interest. So after all these years of complaining and black men putting up with it, I think it's finally over. And the one true thing is that black women's reputation and their behavior and their social interaction with their men has finally caught up with them, which is why SYSBM is so effective, which is why it's happening even though people have never heard of the hashtag, which is why little black boys, if they can, are running away from black women or black girls, which is why black women and black girls can't figure out what the hell is going on. Because the black women, their attitudes, their mating strategy with the way they interact with men is perfectly normal. Because black men have always responded to that. The grandmother was that way toward the grandfather. Their mother was that way toward the father. They've seen it on TV shows. I mean, if you look at any black girl TV show and the way she interacts with her black man, it's not nice. It's not doting. It's not sweet. The only time a black woman is sweet to her man is when they're getting ready to have sex. And black women treat sex in the movies in TV like a doggy treat. And black men are finding more other groups of women more appealing. Even on YouTube, you can actually hear it. That's why it's extremely interesting to actually hear black women do that. And they know they have sometimes 300, 400, 500 people listening, just tuning in live. And another 3,000, 4,000 people that are actually going to hear their recording. And black women will jump into a group of men and try to sun them, all of them. Try to cow them with shaming language and come in like they're in charge. They're in charge of the whole stream, the whole panel. And black men are supposed to shut up and listen and let them finish. And I got to say what I got to say. And you can't question me. And what I say goes. And when you call them on it, because I always call them on it, they have an excuse for being so aggressive, so mean, so snarky, so unsociable. And they lie and say it's because they have to. Now, we've had plenty of examples of black women, such as Fitness Mom, that come on, are social, are nice, are considerate, and they can sit on black male panels all day, but those are called pick-me's. If you're nice to men, you're actually social toward men, you're called a pick-me. You're trying to curry favor because in their mind, if they're nice to a man, that means because they want to have sex with him. Really, that's the only time that black women are nice to me, when they want to have sex with them. So that's where the mammy and the pick-me and those kinds of names come from, to women that are just basically being social. What they really mean is that it's outside the normal way that black men and women interact. We're supposed to have our fists balled up and clash with each other. We're supposed to be Klingons and not Bajorans, not even humans. So pick me or mammy or male identified means that you're just social toward that man. And if you don't give a pushback or a argument or some kind of angst toward a black man, that means one, you don't like him, and two, you're not interested in him, or you're not being social. That's the one true thing. That's the one true thing that shows up over and over and over again. And black men have put up with it. I mean, literally put up with it for hundreds of years because they've had no choice. Now, the Z's, especially the young millennials and the Z's, have choice. And guess what they're doing? They're saying that this attitude, this way of doing things is not socially acceptable to us. And if you can't fix it or change it, guess what's going to happen? You're not going to get chosen. Here's what it is. I said it to my mother. I seen it in my sisters. Heck, my grandmother, even though I loved her to death, it was in her too. And I grew up that was normal. And still parts of me still accepts it as normal. And I don't blame young men for not putting up with it and taking the better deal. This is just a thought. It's not supposed to be a whole hour ramble. So I know you guys expect me to ramble for another 30 minutes, but no, sadly, no. So I'm going to cut it off here. If I remember it, I'll talk about the S word tomorrow. With that, I'm jump off here. This is BGS out, and I'll see you guys on the next one.